सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So in the last class we saw that consciousness or awareness is upahita, okay, and there are two upadhis. One is what we call the upadhi of Ishvara, which is Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman, and the second is the upadhi of Jiva, me, the individual. Okay. Ultimately, it is only one reality manifesting in these two forms, like the water manifesting as ocean and also manifesting as the wave. Okay? But the water is already free from being the ocean or being the wave. Okay? So this is what we saw. Now let's go to the next verse. Atma samsthitihi swatma darshanam atma nidvayat atma nishtata. The vision of one's own self is the well-abiding in the self. Because of the non-duality of self, there is the natural, effortless abidance in the self. Okay. So one thing we saw yesterday, that this knowledge is something where there is a growing clarity. Okay. From the time, if you have been listening to Vedanta for a number of years, every time you listen to it, okay, even though you don't have the vision totally, you feel you understand something more, something else. Some doubts are becoming clearer, some ideas are becoming far more clear. Okay, so this is what we call the whole process of growing clarity. Okay, so there, in order for that whole clarity to take place, what do you need to do? You need to make an effort in two directions. One is in the form of Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. This is what you were talking about. All the time bring to the mind. Because what happens is, the minute we go out there, we meet all the people and our work and our family and everything. There is a whole mindset which we have here begins to, that doesn't remain with us. Okay? So constant hearing the Shastra is something which is very important. It's not just a one-time thing. No matter how smart you are, it is not a one-time thing. Okay? Because there are so many levels to this understanding. There are so many levels of clarity. What you thought you understood a few years ago, then you said, oh my God, no, I thought I understood, but I didn't understand at all. There could be vague understanding, there could be partial understanding, there can be erroneous understanding. So this whole process, you have to really understand. In order for the vision to be clear, you need to expose yourself to Shastra for a length of time. Okay? For this growing clarity to take its own time. But the second effort is in your own personal growth. Because a mind which is filtered, basically, okay, in your day-to-day small transactions, is not going to be, when the words are received, okay, that filtering is going to create concepts which are not in keeping with what is. No matter how clear Shastras are, no matter how clear the teacher is, okay, the person is just not going to be able to capture the vision in its totality. Okay? So the effort also goes in this personal growth. Okay? This is where all the practices come in, the living a life of karma yoga, meditation practices, prayers, anything that you do for your self growth is something which is critical for this understanding. Okay? But once that knowledge takes place, we saw that the knowledge is what? There is what we call akhandakara vritti, where the ignorance of the whole thing goes away. There is a total clarity about what the Shastra is saying. That means that my mind, through its vritti, has reached exactly what Shastra wants to convey about me, I, the nature of I, the nature of the cause of the universe, and the nature of the universe. Okay? So this is something that the mind, there is a total capturing of this reality. Once that has taken place, you of course can do nididhyasana still. You can continue to contemplate, but at the same time there is no possibility of this error coming back. There is no possibility. Okay. In every other knowledge, okay, you can't know one thing totally. Okay. If I ask you, what is this? You will say it's a flower. If I ask you what is the name of the flower, then itself you don't know. Let's say if you knew the name, okay? Then I asked you, but then why is this flower different from this rose? Okay? Why is this shape coming like this and the shape of a rose is totally different or lily is different? So what you think you know, even in that knowledge, it is so limited, it is so superficial. So that means in any given thing in this universe, you cannot know fully. You think that the scientists are very clever. Okay? In fact, last retreat that we did in Kodaikanal, there was a person who came from the US. He was studying physics. He's a student of physics. And he came, quantum physics. Kashi met him. Okay? He is a student of quantum physics and he came on a scholarship to our retreat. So I said, wow, who gave you scholarship to come to our retreat, you know? So his airfare from US was paid, he was given some money to come and study Vedanta. So he said he read an article by a very famous physicist, Schrödinger, okay? And that article said that basically this physicist, I think there's a cat, the one who's the experience with cat, I think is a very famous physicist. So what he said is that in fact we scientists, the whole world looks up to us for finding out reality. But he says very clearly that we can only go up to a certain point and after that we have no idea. Okay? So that means that what was before Big Bang?
Big Bang itself.
How did it come about? And whether Big Bang is the reality, these are all just some postulates based on very sophisticated inference. Okay? It's not just ordinary inference. Okay? But he says, when it comes to reality, the knowledge of science is highly wanting. Okay? There is no finality in anything that we know. Then he said that you only can look into philosophies for knowing the reality. Then he goes and he analyzes each of the existing philosophies very systematically with his scientist mind, and he shows that in each one how there are some logical errors, how it is not tenable because it doesn't fit. Okay? Then he concludes his article by saying that there is only one philosophy which remains uncontradicted by human reasoning, and that is Vedanta. So that student came to know what is this Vedanta. Okay? And he made a proposal, and then he was given the grant. Okay? So that means that what it has to say is something which is not ordinary. What I want to say here is any knowledge that we have is highly partial, that you have to understand. Whether it is a scientist, greatest scientist, or we little people, our knowledge is partial. Second, by knowing one thing, you don't know the other thing. By knowing physics, you don't know chemistry. By knowing chemistry, you don't know economics. By knowing economics, you don't know archaeology. Okay? So that means not only one thing we can't know properly, but by knowing one thing, we can't know other things. Okay? So the extent of limitation of our knowledge as an individual, you have to understand. Okay? But even though this is a fact, there is only one thing in this universe which can be known by a human being totally. And what is that? Not this partial and...
I am that.
Yeah, exactly. You, I, the nature of I. Okay? There is Chandogya Upanishad where this little boy goes to a Gurukulam and comes back very proud that he is very clever, he has learnt everything. The father, who is a great scholar, great wise person, he asks his son, "Hey Shvetaketu, did you learn that knowledge knowing which everything is as well known?" First, Shvetaketu was very arrogant. He said, there can never be such knowledge. How can there be a knowledge knowing one thing, you know everything else? Okay. And then he said, if there was a knowledge like that, my teachers would have taught me because I was the smartest in the class. But being who he was, after his initial reaction, he calmed down and he thought about it. Then he asks his father, is there any knowledge like that, knowing which everything is known? Then the father says, yes. Okay. And then he first starts by a plausibility. He says, imagine there are many gold ornaments. There is necklace, there is bangle, there is ring, one is very big, one is very small. Okay. There is earrings, all kinds of ornaments. If you count forms, there are countless. But if you count the substance, gold, there is only one. Once you know the gold as the content of the ornaments, you can say the golden ornaments, right? Anything that happened in the past, countless ornaments. Okay? Any ornament that existed in the past without having individual knowledge of that. Any ornament which is going to exist in the future. Okay? It is still going to be only what? Gold. Okay? So that means by knowing one, you can know, by knowing gold, you can know the entire world, golden world. Gold can be in many different forms. Known to you and unknown to you. In the past, in the present and in the future. With reference to the universe, if the whole universe that we see has only one content, and the forms don't count. By knowing that one, you as well know everything else. Does it mean that you know all the details of everything? Impossible. It is impossible to know the details of everything. Cycles, here what we are talking about is cycles and cycles and cycles of creation. Okay. This is something which is very significant because at times we think that the wise person, the person who knows, will have some special power, will know something more. We equate the knowledge or the wisdom with what is happening here. We equate the wisdom with some either increased knowledge, the person has some insight into what is going to happen to you in next 5 years or whatever which you don't have. Okay? Or the person can bring about some little power, people can bring about something which others cannot bring about, some power. Okay? Can you equate that to knowledge? No. Why?
This is the knowledge about you, the consciousness. There is that one is some experience.
Very good. What is that power, that increased power that we are so fascinated about? Okay, that power to manifest something that others cannot manifest. What is the significance of that power compared to the power which brings about cycles of creation? It is nothing. It is totally insignificant. Okay? But we pay attention to that because it's slightly more than our range. And we equate it to knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge is that any power that exists anywhere in the universe, in the past, present and future, every power is within time and space. Okay. There is a much more fundamental power which is Sarvajna Sarvashaktiman. And consciousness is the truth of that. Where is the comparison? What is Shruti talking about and what image we are creating? Maybe as a result of all the efforts that the person has done, the person does become more intuitive. The person does have certain insights. Okay? But what ultimately counts is the clarity with which you see who you are. Because at times you can have power without having the clarity. Power is, in some yoga, many practices are talked about, which will bring you some powers. That doesn't mean anything. There is a story in the Shastra. Okay? So there was this man who felt that he had to acquire some powers. Okay? So he started practicing very hard, and he started walking. After some 5 or 10 years of some practices, he started walking on the water. Okay? So he wanted to show off his this capacity. So he tells one boatman, and he says, "You know what? I can walk on the water." So he thought that the boatman would be totally fascinated. But the boatman did not look very amused. So he was a little bit surprised that, he spent 10 years doing this and now he thinks he's achieved something great. Okay. Then he says, "Did you see that?" And he says, "Yeah, I saw that." So he says, "But are you not fascinated by that?" And the boatman said that, "Why did you spend 10 years trying to go across the river by walking, where I can take a boat and I can do it in 5 minutes? What's the big deal?" Okay? What we get so fascinated by something extraordinary. We are all looking for something little bit out of the range, and we get all fascinated. Out of the human range, little bit here and there, of what significance it is. Here we are talking about something at a totally different level. Okay? It is truth of time, space, It is truth of intelligence which brings about time and space and all the everything there. You are that, in which all these little powers, big powers, all everything exists. It is of no significance. Okay? What the reality is and where is our mind dwelling. And in fact, we get further and further fascinated. If you are not ready for the truth, there are so many things which will fascinate you and you will go on a tangent without even realizing it. Okay. There is a story that to a wise person, a student comes and the student says, "Can you please teach me Vedanta?" And the teacher sees that the student is not really ready for it. Okay? So instead of saying, "No, you are not ready for it," says, "I will teach you. You go," the teacher was in the north, he says, "You go to Kanyakumari walking, you come back and then I'll teach you." The person goes, and because the person is, every small thing starts fascinating him. So he goes on a total tangent. He gets married, he has children, he starts business, everything happens and the whole thing is forgotten. Mind is like that. It is fanciful. Anything little bit different, you get attracted to. Okay? And even in the name of spirituality, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things available. If you don't have proper discretion, anything will fascinate you and you will go on a tangent. This is a fact. You have to understand the what we are talking is fundamentally so different from any little experience that anybody can have within time and space for half an hour, 15 minutes, or any little power that anybody can acquire, or any little energy that one produces by being good. Nothing. So this is what we have to understand. Once Atma is known, it is known in totality. There is no part, there is no ambiguity. It is total, and once it is understood, nobody can take away this knowledge from you. Nobody. Okay? The next verse, it says, Gnana varjita, gnana hinachit, gnanam asti kim, natum antaram. The awareness is knowledge which is free from objects of knowledge and ignorance of oneself and objects. Is there anything else to know? Okay. We have already seen this, that every object in the universe is known to me. My ignorance is known to me. Okay. Everything is an object. What is an object is not the subject. Okay. So the whole prakriya that the Shastra use is what we call Drik Drishya Viveka. Viveka is discrimination between Drik, the seer, and what is we say seen. Okay. So seen is the whole world. You, everything. Anything that is available for my perception. Okay. What is seen? Who is the seer? I think me, this is the seer. But this, is it a seer or the seen? Seen. It is seen. It's an object and it's not the subject. Okay. The different thoughts that go on in your mind, are they seer or the seen?
Seen.
Seen. They are objects. There are two kinds of perceptions we have. One is what we call Indriya Pratyaksha. The second is Sakshi Pratyaksha. Okay. What is Indriya Pratyaksha? You use your sense organs to know a given thing. Okay. But a Sakshi Pratyaksha is when you know you are sad. Okay. Can you see the sadness? Do you capture the sadness through your indriyas? No. Okay? So that means what we call Sakshi Pratyaksha. The thoughts that come in your mind, the emotions, everything is something which is just witness perception, but it is still a perception. Okay? So the whole Jagat is an object. There is only one subject, which is consciousness. But then we think that this subject is one thing and the world object is something else. What we saw in the whole teaching, this so-called object Jagat, is what?
Mithya.
Exactly. So Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. The entire object, which includes your body, your mind, everything else in the universe, okay, is in the category of object. And what is the relationship between subject and object? Subject I is independently existing and objects depend upon one reality for their existence. Okay? So that means there is only one reality which is manifesting in different names and forms, and when the whole creation resolves, all these forms resolve, then they become manifest again, and then they resolve, and then they become manifest again, and it goes on and on and on. You can only get out of this by knowing the true nature of the subject. Until then, it just continues. Okay? So you are reminded about this fact. And once this fact is known, is there anything else which remains to be known? The whole puzzle of life is solved once and for all. What is known? Ishvara's, the entire appearance, you are no longer fooled by that appearance. As we saw, Maya Shakti has two capacities. One is Vikshepa, projection. Second is Avarana. Avarana means it veils from you what the reality is. Once that veil of ignorance is removed, what is there? Just knowledge shining as clear as daylight. Is it subject to memory? Do you need to keep on saying, I am that limitless, I am limitless? Do you need to do that?
It's jnana.
Exactly.
It's not memory, it's jnana.
It's not memory based. Okay. Once understood, it is absolutely understood for good. Okay. Kim Swarupam iti Atmadarshane Avyaya Bhava Purna Chit Sukham. Okay. What is the essential nature of myself? When there is knowledge of the self, there is awareness, there is happiness, ever full being, unborn and never waning. Okay. So again, this one thing we have to understand, that what is the relationship between, because you have in Shastra two words. You have Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Anantam literally means limitless. Okay? And you have another word called Sat, Chit, Ananda. Okay? So this Ananda seems like some happiness. Okay? So that means that we think, people construe, if they don't know how to take, if they don't know the tradition, okay, what happens is they say that this Sat and Chit is some kind of an Ananda, but it is not normal Ananda, it is some bliss, because it cannot be a normal Ananda, right? So they use the word Ananda and they translate it to what we call bliss. Okay? Some kind of an experience of some extraordinary ananda. Okay? But Shastra does not mean that at all. Okay? Shastra means limitlessness. Any ananda, okay, is what? Your experience which lasts for how long?
A short time.
It's a short time. Okay. Now that ananda which is a short time, even though you increase the magnitude of it, can you compare it to limitless?
It cannot be Anantam anyway. So
Exactly, it
then
cannot be
what-
ananda because it has begun now, and
And
for
ended
all
now.
these past millions of years it was not there. Absolutely. How can it be limitless? Exactly. Absolutely. Okay, if it has started now, means for billions of years of the universe's existence it was not there. Okay, so it can never mean ananda. Okay, it only means limitless. But why is Shastra then using the word ananda? You have to know that. Okay, because we are all seeking ananda. We are all seeking happiness. Okay, in the experience of happiness, what happens? Okay, you love this flower, then when Kashi brings this flower, you feel happy. Okay, there is an experience of happiness that nobody can deny, but now we have to analyze where does this happiness come from. Okay, can you say that the flower has an intrinsic quality of happiness? No. Because somebody else can be totally indifferent to this flower, the flower will not bring happiness. Even if this flower is there, but if my mind goes somewhere else and I start thinking about that, the flower will not bring me happiness. So that means that I cannot attribute happiness to the flower. Okay? Can I attribute happiness to me, I? If I already was happy, I would not search. My whole life goes in searching for happiness here and there. Okay? So neither I can say that happiness is intrinsic nature of this individual who experiences happiness, nor it is the attribute of the object. But still, in the presence of a given object, we have the experience of happiness. Where does it come from?
From within, not from
No, it
outside.
has come from outside.
Okay. Which outside?
Outside from a tree.
This comes from
It's already with us.
So,
because Ananda is there, it is getting expressed. That's all.
okay. Close. Okay. What is happening in life when we live life is I don't know my nature, so I am the seeker. I'm the seeker. Okay? I seek happiness through here, through there, through money, through power, through position, through vacations, through sports, through everything. Okay? So when I come in contact with something that I am looking for a limited point in time, the presence of that object which I like, okay, will make me not the seeker anymore. That seeker in me resolves for a while. But what happens? Soon after, the seeker in me rises again. Whatever I have, I take for granted, I start searching for something else. Okay? So that means the seeker has re-emerged now. For a while, the seeker sought, division was resolved. Okay? When the seeker in me, when I got something which I sought, in this contact, the seeker resolves. That's where the limitlessness of Atma manifests in form of so-called happiness, experiential happiness. Because the seeker, because this limitlessness, I have labeled it as the seeker because of my own thinking, because of my own ignorance about what I am. Okay? When I come in contact with that any given object which I like, what happens to the seeker? It still remains. Temporarily it is resolved. But because no object can give me what I am really looking for, I very soon become seeker again. Okay? Seeker of something else. I have one promotion, I want the second promotion. I have second promotion, I want to change the company because this company does not pay. For a while it is resolved, then seeker re-emerges. Okay. What happens with knowledge? So the experiential happiness is a result of temporary resolution of the seeker-sought gap. Okay. What happens when the knowledge takes place?
The seeker doesn't emerge.
The seeker, the individual, and the object which I seek are both understood to be what?
Mithya.
Mithya. Okay? Who am I?
Satya.
Consciousness, which sustains both. The seeker-sought division, which was real for me before knowledge, is resolved once and for all through knowledge. This seeker-sought resolution that we are constantly searching for through experiences is resolved once and all through knowledge. The individual me and objects that I am looking for both exist in consciousness. They both depend upon consciousness for their existence. They both have a relative reality. There is no real difference between seeker and sought. And this is why it permanently, what I am seeking through experience of happiness, through knowledge, it permanently resolves. Okay? This is why it is expressed as Ananda. Because Ananda is with reference to my Purushartha. I cannot stand being the seeker. I cannot stand being a wanting person. I cannot stand being an inadequate person. Okay? That wanting me, the inadequate me, the limited me, who has to get in contact with something to feel moments of completion, sense of completion, resolution, that whole need resolves what? Forever. Okay? This is why, this is what is expressed as Ananda. Okay? This whole pursuit is not some special type of Ananda or anything. It is resolution of the seeker-sought, which happens in the moments of happiness, temporarily, is permanently resolved because of understanding of reality. Okay. Now the next verse. Bandha mukti titam param sukham vindyatiha jivastu daivikaha. Okay. The limitless happiness is beyond bondage and freedom. The individual with divine qualities indeed attains it here and now. Okay? So that the whole thing is, this knowledge is not subject to belief. Belief is what? Belief by nature is non-verifiable. If I say there is heaven and you say there is no heaven, can we enter into
Debate for years.
we will be forever, right? There is no conclusion. Why? Because it's not available to our perception. I'll never be able to prove to you that there is heaven. And you will never be able to prove to me that there is no heaven. Okay? It's a belief. But is the knowledge of self a belief? No. Because this I, the heaven, is something which is not available to me. I is one thing which is the only thing which is available to me without the use of my sense organs and mind. Okay? About something which is here and now, and if I can understand the relationship of this consciousness with my body, the entire universe, the cause of the universe, time and space, here and now, then what kind of knowledge will it be?
Just fall.
It will be absolutely a knowledge which is not subject to any fraction or part or any non-clarity. It's not a belief. Because the units of time can change, but the relationship of consciousness with time cannot change. The objects can change, but the relationship that consciousness has with objects does not change. The all knowledge keep on bringing about cycles of creation, but the fundamental relationship between all knowledge and consciousness does not change. Whatever I need to know, the truth of the whole universe is given to me here and now. All the different relationships are given here and now. This is why it becomes a totally direct knowledge. Each of these relations, once it is understood, I need not know the detail.
You are making it very simple, but why is it so complicated to understand that?
I am not making it simple.
For 62
This is
years,
how things are. Okay? And I am explaining what I see clearly, how this is how things are. And because maybe there is some grace where you can see things and it seems to you simple. I am not talking about something simple. But when somebody speaks from clarity, it appears simple. Okay. We think that complicated things are intelligent. No. Every time there is a clarity, it becomes all simple. Einstein, when he was looking at some equation, and he says this is not possible because Ishvara is far more elegant than this. It's not complex. Okay. So, one thing is, it is, one experience which we are all given, which will make us understand this reality as clearly as possible, and that is through our own dream. Okay? We dream every night. In the dream, we create what? Time, space, every object within time, space. Okay? Let's say you are a character in the dream and you are searching for one whole, what is this universe all about in the dream. Then you look into the mountain, the dream mountain. You look into the dream river. You look into the dream characters. What will you find?
Next moment doesn't exist.
No. The dream time, dream space. Everything resolves in what? You. You are completely free from dream, time, space, every object, every experience that you have experienced in the dream. While the dream depends upon you for its existence, you are completely free from whatever that you have dreamt of. Okay. This is really, in the waking, whatever that we see is nothing but one reality manifesting in different names and forms. Okay. So this is what he says, it's here and now. This is the key. It's not a belief. It is totally verifiable. Okay. The last verse, aham petakam nija vibhanakam Mahadidam tapaha Ramana Maharishi. So the destruction of ahankara as a result of inquiry leading to the shining of the self is indeed the greatest tapas, penance. These are the words of Ramana. Okay? We all do, we are all committed to greatest tapas and all. What are all these tapas, vak tapas we have, where we are, in fact vak tapas is a good tapas. When we speak, we think and we speak. We don't just start blurting out things. Okay? Then we have tapas that we do with our body. We sit in meditation for hours. Then we have fasting. These are all the tapas or the penance that we all do. What kind of result they will bring? What are we trying to achieve through tapas? Some type of purification. Okay. Now, what do you achieve through tapas is what? A result of what? Your action. And it will give what kind of a result?
Drishta and Adrishta.
It will give drishta and adrishta phalam. Okay? So that means it is a karma, very right. Every karma is limited. It will give a limited seen result and limited unseen result. Even though it is very good, but it is still limited. What Ramana is saying is, every tapas you can do, it is fine. But what is the greatest purifier? Because if your purpose is purification, what is your greatest purifier? Self-knowledge. Why? Because you understand by that, Atma never became impure in the first place. While anything that happened in the universe, whether there are criminals or there are wars or there are good individuals, Atma never was touched by, never is going to be and never will be touched by anything. Okay. Once this fact about yourself, that Atma has no attributes, it has no characteristics, it can never become impure to become then pure through some efforts, then that is the greatest purification. Can you better that purification? Because anything else you purify, if it is a result of karma, there is a possibility of it becoming impure again. Then again you have to put in a lot of effort to purify it. Again more effort, again more effort. And there is no end to that effort. Okay. So the greatest purification is through knowledge. Atma is Nitya Shuddhaha, Nitya Muktaha. Nitya Shuddha means always free from any impurity. Nitya Muktaha, never bound by anything. Okay. This, and it can never be bound by anything. Okay. So if for every tapas that you do, the purpose is purification, any vak, manas or kaya tapas will give you a limited result. But the tapas, which is self-knowledge, which is not going to come like that. You've seen, it's not you're going to sit one day under the tree and this knowledge is all going to emerge. It won't happen. You need to listen to Shastra, understand clearly what it is talking about. There is this whole process of self-growth. It is tapas. It's not just going to happen like that. Okay?
Is it really possible, this understanding?
Yes, it
or
is.
Momentarily now, maybe in these 5 days.
Okay, 1 minute please. Okay. So, that is tapas because it requires effort. But it is the highest tapas because what you discover is Atma is untouched by any impurity at any period of time. You cannot better it. You don't need to worry about, oh my God, it will get impure again, now I'll have to do more of this. That whole paradigm, it's a paradigm shift. What you understand is at a totally different level. What is what we call Paramarthika Satyam. What we transact, this transactional world, is what we call empirical, which is what we call Vyavaharika. It is Vyavaharika. Transactional world, empirically true. Okay? But here what we are talking about is Paramarthika. Paramarthika is the absolute. Okay? And that's a total paradigm shift. So if you need to put effort, be intelligent, put the effort which will give you the limitless. If you put lots of effort through karma, what will be the result? Limited. Okay? What is the distance between limited and limitless?
Limitless.
Limitless. Absolutely. Okay? What is the distance between 1 and infinity? Infinity. What is the distance between 1 million and infinity? Infinity. Okay? Karma is getting from 1 to a million with lot of effort. Infinity is available to you as your nature here and now. Where will you put effort in life if you are a smart person? Infinity. Go for it. Right? So this is what human birth is meant for. Otherwise, if you walk within this, what is the distance? What have you missed? What is your loss?
Everything.
Everything. Okay? So this is what Ramana is talking about. That is the end of all the entire text. So thank you. I hope this teaching has made some contribution in your life. And even if you think it hasn't, it will, because this is the order of Ishvara. It's got nothing to do with me, it's got nothing to do with you, it is to do with order. The presence of us together for these 5 days is not an ordinary presence. Okay? It may just seem like, yeah, you registered for the camp and you came and all. It is not ordinary. There is so many factors at work. So many people were to come and they just last minute could not make it. Some people came last minute like Shiva and Veena. Okay? This is all arrangement of the order. Who gets what teaching at what point in time? There is Daivam there. Okay? So thank you.
Thank you.
I don't take it lightly and I'm sure you did not take it lightly too. Okay? Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.